special tools, and how to decide whether we should use these tools or not. That will be discussed by Dr. Shruti P. Babu. She's a senior consultant, phaco surgeon, and a medical retina consultant at Eye Foundation, Kozhikode. Over to you, Shruti.
Thank you, Sina ma'am, for this opportunity. I'll be talking on when not to use iris hooks and capsular CTRs. Coming to small pupil cataract surgery, anything below 6 mm is considered small pupil, but up to 4 to 4.5 mm, we need not use pupillar expanders. We can modify our techniques and successfully perform phaco in these pupils. Causes of small pupil, the risk factors for meiosis would be pseudoexfoliation, uveitic cataract, diabetic patient, previous ocular trauma, and even mature cataract. Surgical causes will be femto-assisted cataract surgery, in which during anterior capsulotomy there is prostaglandin release. So consider reducing the energy levels in patients who already have small pupil, previous ocular surgeries, and prolonged surgical time. This leads to prostaglandin release. Medications will be tamsulosin, which is a major culprit causing IFIS. It is not only given in BPH in men, but it is also given for urinary retention and BP stabilization in women. Other drugs are antipsychotics, pilocarpine, chemotherapeutic agents, etc. How to improve dilatation? Preoperatively, topical NSAIDs at least 1 day prior to surgery will maintain and improve dilatation during cataract surgery. These are COX inhibitors which effectively block the metabolism of arachidonic acid to prostaglandin and avoid dilatation more than 2 hours before surgery. Tropicamide and phenylephrine, repeated topical administration or as pledgets kept in the inferior fornix will help in dilatation. Phenylephrine 10% has no added benefit but definite cardiovascular risk. Patients on tamsulosin, we can try atropine 1% twice daily starting 10 days prior to cataract surgery. But there is a risk of pupillary fatigue on the day of surgery and side effects of long-term anticholinergics. Maintaining the dilatation. We can use 0.5 ml epinephrine, preservative free, into 500 ml of BSS or ringer lactate. Otherwise, we can use an intracameral epinephrine, which we take as 1:1000 preservative free. It can be diluted with BSS in the ratio 1:3, which yields 1:4000 concentration, and this improves the iris tone in IFIS. Intracameral phenocaine, which is lignocaine, phenylephrine, and tropicamide, 0.1 to 0.2 ml intracamerally before injecting the viscoelastics dilates most of the pupil. But if you cannot attain a dilatation of more than 3.5 mm pharmacologically, then it is better to go for mechanical dilatation during cataract surgery. Now, surgical procedure, there are actually two types of pupil. One is a rigid pupil and the other one is elastic pupil. In rigid pupil, you can see atrophy of the sphincters. At the pupillary margin, you can see atrophy, and these will not dilate with viscoelastics. And in elastic pupil, there is no pupillary border change, and it dilates with viscoelastic, but it will come back to its normal position as soon as the OVD escapes. Now, in rigid pupil, we can do stretching, and if there is any big posterior synechiae, you have to break the posterior synechiae. Sorry. In this, you can use a 27 gauge cannula or a spatula to sweep between the iris and the anterior capsule in one direction and in the other direction till you release all the synechiae. And then using a capsulorhexis forceps, you can peel the fibrotic membrane in a circumferential fashion. But you should never pull the iris radially. Next, in rigid pupil, you can also do stretch pupilloplasty, for which you can use either two Sinskey hook or a Y hook. First, you can stretch in one direction and then in the opposite axis, but you have to be very careful when stretching. You should not damage the sphincter. You can see small pinpoint hemorrhages at the margin, which is due to breakage of the fibrotic membrane. And you should not stretch elastic pupil, because in IFIS, the floppiness of the iris will increase with stretching. Second step is viscomydriasis. Use Helon 5 in AC before performing the rhexis. Use low flow phaco. Reduce the fluid parameters by 10 to 15% to reduce again OVD washout. Limit the main incision to 2.2 mm. Make a triplanar incision. Make the incision little longer so that you prevent OVD washout as well as iris prolapse. You can use a viscodispersive agent at the main incision so that again the OVD Helon 5 remains in the anterior chamber. Make the capsulorhexis little smaller, larger than the pupil. If you can attain a 4 mm dilatation, then you can easily perform a capsulorhexis which is 5 to 5.5 mm by going under the pupil. And the optic size is only 5.25 to 6 mm, so you can easily insert the IOL through the rhexis and do a trenching within the 5 mm pupil. Bring the nucleus outside the capsular bag. Perform multiple hydrodelineation rings so that you have a bulk and you can easily emulsify the nucleus. And use a careful slow hydrodissection and bring the cataract nucleus partially outside the capsular bag. And now you can chop it into smaller pieces and emulsify. After thorough hydrodissection, you can rotate the nucleus properly and then trench the nucleus and chop it into multiple small pieces. After IOL insertion, before the removal of the viscoelastic, you have to tent up the iris 360° and check whether there are any cortical matter remaining or a nucleus chip remaining. And you can also verify the position of the IOL, whether it's inside the bag or not. Coming to subluxated cataract, most common cause of subluxation is trauma, then pseudoexfoliation. Heritable causes can be Marfan's, homocystinuria, Weil-Mercesani, Ehlers, Crouzons, and spontaneous subluxation in old age and high myopia is also possible. Diagnosis challenges. There will be lack of phacodonosis if you have a posterior synechia behind the iris, and subtle findings like decentration, tilting can be missed on slit lamp examination. Vitreous is present in AC only if there is a large zonular dehiscence. Patient may not give history of trauma. Tips to diagnose: you have to have a suspicion of subluxation if there is a moderate to severe myopia with narrow angle and normal lens thickness, if wide sutures are not in axis with the corneal center, uneven AC depth, and asymmetry between two eyes which is more than 0.2 to 0.4 mm. You can easily verify it with UBM or ASOCT, and variation of visual acuity between visits and IOP fluctuation between visits also suggest the presence of mobile lens. Now this is a ASOCT image which shows superior decentration and tilting of the lens nucleus, and the Y sutures in this is not in the center of the cornea. Now, choice of surgical procedure according to degree of zonular dehiscence. Superior up to 4 clock hours, we can safely place the IOL inside the bag with haptic cues to stretch the bag. And inferior 3 clock hours, you have to go for a CTR. 3 to 6 clock hour, modified CTR with single loop. 6 to 9 clock hours, modified CTR with 2 loops. And more than 9 clock hours of dehiscence, you have to go for ICCE and iris fixated IOL or SFIOL. Coming to surgical tips in subluxation, make the incision away from the area of zonular weakness and use high molecular weight viscoelastics. Start the capsulorhexis away from the area of laxity. Most of the time we realize that there is a laxity only when we start doing the capsulorhexis. After the CCC, we have to stabilize the bag with capsular hooks. Now these hooks have longer posterior tabs and they are blunt at the ends so that it does not injure the capsule. They reach up to the equator, the posterior tab, and it stretches the PC so that it is easier to do the phaco. But you have to do gentle but thorough hydrodissection. Do a supracapsular phaco at low vacuum and aspiration setting. Do cortical viscodissection prior to IA, and cortex should be always stripped tangential to the capsular bag. And you can use the haptic of the IOL to stretch the capsular bag at the area of laxity. While inserting the capsular hook, you have to remember that it should not be posterior to the limbus, it should be little anterior to the limbus so that you can reach the capsule and hook it. Now, how to place IOL in PCR? If there is a small center PCR, convert it into a posterior CCC. This renders the tear strong and resistant to peripheral extension. And even if there is, and you can easily place the PCIOL inside the bag. If there is significant loss of PC, then you have to go for 3-piece IOL in sulcus. Now, tips to place the IOL in sulcus. Now, if there is, if you have to enlarge the incision, you have to enlarge it, and then tilt the injector in such a way that the haptic is horizontal to the plane of the, it comes out horizontally, parallel to the iris. You can place the IOL in the AC and then gently dial it under the iris closer to it, or you can directly place the leading haptic under the iris and then gently rotate it. You can place a Sinskey hook under the IOL so that it does not go into the PC and enlarge the PC tear. If the capsular axis is intact, and then you can do a optic capture. For this, to perform an optic capture, the CCC should be around 4.8 mm, ideally below 5.2 mm. You can push one side at a time. And then after the CCC, after the optic capture is performed, the anterior capsule will be like a spindle shape. And if you're not performing an optic capture, you have to reduce the IOL power 0.5 to 1 diopter depending upon the IOL power of the patient. Thank you.
Thank you, Shruti, for that wonderful talk.